Cindy. This is time for my morning car chat, and I'm coming to you from New Hampshire, and it is a beautiful morning. The sun is out, the sky is blue, and we're headed north today. We're going to the State House. My name is Cindy. I'm a mom, I'm a teacher, and I'm also, I wear many hats. I also have 13 children, and they're all grown up. My youngest is 17, which is nuts because that means his next birthday he'll be 18. Uh, I've been a mom for almost 40 years. Of young kids. Of course, I do have my grandkids, and I need to start doing more with them because they're growing up too. I have two granddaughters that are 12. I have, man, well, going to be 12. And I don't even know their ages. I hate to tell you this right now, but I have one, I believe, is 7, or I think maybe he's 8. And then one that's 6, and then a baby in that family that just turned 1. I know that. And then I have 2 that live in Georgia, the 2 and just a few months. And I have another grandson who lives not too far from me, and he's in that, 6, I believe. And then I have one on the way. So I have a lot of grandkids coming up. So I got to start working on being a better grandma because I've been pretty busy these days. But I'm also a New Hampshire state representative as of the last election in November. And so I'm headed north to the State House right now. Wow, the sky is beautiful. The sun is shining brightly today. And I'm also a Christian. So I do have a Christian view on what's going on in the world. And that has helped me through some hard things. So I'm also, as my friend would say, she's an angel mom. Yeah, that's the hardest thing that I ever have to talk about is my son that had a ski accident 2 years ago. And every day I get up and I think about him because he loved getting up in the morning, and he, when I listen to the birds, I think of him. He was an early bird. He liked to get up. He would get up when we were going to school. He'd be the first one up, tell everybody to get up, and he was just so responsible. And he was in college in 2020. He had gone down to South Carolina to go to college. And then when we had the COVID situation, he came home. He tried to stay. He wanted to stay because he had just got on security at the school he was going to. And he was really excited about that job. And then he had to come home because of the COVID thing. And I remember him calling me, telling me he was going to stay. And then he had to tell me he had to come home. I was really sad for him because he was really smart. He was looking forward to college. And then he came home and worked. He worked his buns off. And then he went to a local college and ended up getting into living at a college here in New Hampshire. And he had gotten a ski ticket. So he had gone skiing many times. He was a good skier. And the day that he had the accident, it was very, very foggy. And he was going down a really steep slope. From what I hear, it had a sharp turn in it, and he hit a tree. So that was January of 2023. So that boy has gone on to heaven, so he's there. So he went on before the rest of us, and that's a really sad part of my life And I guess I manage hard things by just finding something that I like to do and just do it. So today we are headed to the State House. I don't know why that's so enjoyable to me, but I feel like I'm doing something to help my state. And it's been an interesting journey. I have, uh, in New Hampshire, we have 400 seats in the state, the New Hampshire House of Representatives, 400 seats. And yesterday, I think we had 360 representatives there. Not every seat was there because today was a 2-day week for um, voting. Usually it's 1 day a week, but we had so many bills to work on, it had to be a 2-day. So we're headed back to the State House, and today I believe is the last day of getting through the bills for the first time. And then they go to the Senate, and then they come back somehow. I don't know the whole entire process. And then the governor also looks at them and it says yay or nay. So that's the checks and balances in New Hampshire. So I'm a Christian, so I don't get involved in all the messy stuff that's inappropriate. I'm also a mom. If it's inappropriate, don't even mention it on my channel. I would appreciate it. If you don't want to be appropriate, you can move on to someone else. Because I'm a Christian mom and I'm a teacher and I'm also I'm watching out for the good things, to grow the good things and step on the things that are going to hurt us and our children. So I'm all for uh, exposing evil and making sure that we, what do you call it? Rein it in, rein it in. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about the things that we did yesterday at the State House. Yesterday we had a day full of voting, and it's hard to remember everything. Thank you for coming, Aiden. Thank you. And so, yeah, on my channel, I also have some Bible reading. My last video I did was Psalm 23 and showing some sheep. Psalm 23 is a short psalm that a lot of people memorize, but it has so much to it because most people don't know everything about sheep like they did in the time of David. You know, David was a shepherd and he knew everything about sheep, and that was the most precious thing to him. And so calling us sheep and God, Jesus, God the shepherd, is just a really amazing analogy. That we're not just in this world randomly just spreading out all over the place, but God has a plan. He has us here for a reason. And he also wants to be with us. You know, he wants to go with us where we can maybe affect people, we can help people, and when we help others, we help ourselves, which is kind of neat how that works. So yesterday, usually on session days, there's a pastor in the area, and he comes to us, and they make us a little lunch, and we have a little devotional, and he prays with us, whoever wants to go. Usually it's about 15 or 20 representatives, and we all meet up, and it's been really nice because before I got involved in this state house stuff, I didn't realize, you know, there are other Christians that are at the State House that are, you know, praying for what's right and holding the line. And so yesterday he wasn't going to be there because he is only there on Thursdays. So I went down to the cafeteria and I sat down and I was by myself for a little bit, checked my phone, of course. Got my little snack out, and then this woman sat down next to me, and we started talking. And, I told her I had kids, and she said, "Oh, how many kids do you have?" And I said, "I have 13 children." And then she said, "Can I ask you why?" Hey, all things pink and possible. Thanks for coming. Um, she said, "Can I ask you why you have 13 kids?" And I was like, "Okay." So here we go. So I explained to her that, I just, after my third pregnancy, I was like, looked in my Bible, and my Bible said, children are a blessing. Like, there's nowhere in the Bible that says, you know, you should limit the amount of children you have, or you should be smart about how many kids you have, or you should plan. There's nothing like that. And the Jewish culture, having a child was the biggest blessing of all. And it was, nobody can really make a child. Only God can give life to a person. And so I decided, okay, I'm just going to trust God. I'm married. Not like I'm not married. I'm married. I have a husband, and we have 3 kids already. We'll trust the Lord for the future. And, after you have 3 or 4 or 5, you're like, just trust God for one more. And what's one more? And people say that, is it fair to the other children? And I look at my children, they love each other. When a new baby was born, it was joy for everyone. And yeah, it's a lot of work, but they all love each other. And even now, they're all grown up, and they all look out for each other. They keep in touch. We have a family chat group, and some of them have moved down to Georgia area, and they all live near each other. They get together, and they love each other. So I don't know what would stop me. I guess money, finances, but God seemed to provide for that. And we lived on a kind of a lower income compared to most people. I did not work. I stayed home, and my dad was 6th of 12. Oh, that's cool. And I, financially, yes, but God always provided. I mean, stories of God's provision can go on forever. But it was interesting because I was telling the woman yesterday that, I'm just thankful we have that choice, in America. We still have the choice if we want to. And she looked at me and she's like, well, not everybody has that choice. And I was like, well, yeah, I get that because, just because you decide to let God give you whatever kids he wants to give you, it doesn't mean you're going to have 13. It could be you're going to have 2 or 1 or 0. And she told me that it wasn't her choice that her husband died and that she had to raise her son by herself. And I was like, wow, that's true. There are a lot of things in life that we do not choose and we have to accept. I did not tell her about my son that had the ski accident because honestly, I didn't really want to talk about it. I didn't want to get emotional during lunch when I had a big afternoon ahead of me, but, I could feel the grief. But on the other hand, she's an overcomer. She told me about her successful situation. She made the best of it, and she works in the New Hampshire State House, so she's not sitting around. And it was really special because at the end of the conversation, she said, I'm really proud of you and for the choices that you've made. So even at my age, that's kind of a nice feeling. So that was a really cool lunchtime. And we had a good afternoon. We had a really interesting afternoon where the chair of the education committee did a story time, and he did a story time about some of the inappropriate books that are in our schools. And people just deny it, oh, it's, not really in our schools, or we have to have these books because it helps people, it helps the students, and all this stuff. So he read some interesting information. You can, if you're interested, you can look on the New Hampshire State House website. It's at the end of yesterday's session. And he read out loud, and it was pretty uncomfortable, and it was pretty ridiculous because kids do not need this information in their schools. And so I think he proved his point. But it was interesting how some of the people in the State House that want these books in school were walking out of the room because it was uncomfortable to listen to. And a couple people shouted out that they said it was inappropriate and that people are getting triggers and stuff like that. But those are the people that wanted that stuff in there. So it makes no sense. They're not consistent on how they think. It's like, yeah, we think it's bad too. That's why we don't want it in the schools. So if you can't read it in the State House with a whole bunch of adults, then why are we allowing it in schools? So that bill did pass. It was a bill about how if parents find out there's stuff that's crosses the line to obscene, then they can bring it to the administration and they can have it reviewed, and a fine will be given and it will be taken out of the schools. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, at least we got the point across that kids don't need this stuff. I mean, I know that sometimes kids are exposed to things they shouldn't be, and somehow we have to help them. But what about the kids that are innocent and they've never been exposed to this really bad stuff? And now we're exposing everyone. We're not giving anyone a chance to have a clean brain, right? So it's a very interesting situation. We live in a different type of culture. When I was a kid, I remember there was brown paper on magazines. I remember as a young parent, I had a friend and we were like, let's be the brown paper bag ladies and go around and cover all of the magazines at the grocery stores like they used to. Put some brown paper on them. We had these ideas because we started seeing, these magazines just totally exposed at the grocery store. And we were bringing up kids. We didn't want kids seeing this stuff. But I kind of gave up because it's so pervasive and there's just no way you can hold it back. The evil is just right there. You have to make a purpose. You have to purpose in your heart, like Daniel did, not to defile yourself because everything is right in your face. You have to make a purpose for yourself. So that's a message for children. And it's sad because, it used to be that children were protected and that we didn't expect them to have discernment. We didn't expect them to have to fight against evil as a child. But I guess that's where we're at right now. So that was the interesting time at the State House yesterday. So I was glad to vote for that bill. I was glad to be there for that. We also had a bill that was coming up that was for the Article 5 Convention of States. I was really kind of hoping that would pass, and I believe we tabled that bill. So I was really hoping that New Hampshire would join in with that Article 5 convention. So I don't know, maybe it will happen next year. We'll see. I was on the committee that heard that testimony, and it was pretty strong. And most of the bill was, the hope was to rein in the spending for Congress, but I do believe that that might be happening anyway with the situation with the Doge, which still remains to be seen. There has been discussion about libraries and what libraries, you know, they're getting so much money and they not, a lot of people don't even go to the library anymore. So maybe we need to kind of like rework the library. We'll see what happens with that. So thank you so much for coming to this video, and I appreciate it. It's going to be another long day at the State House. Tomorrow I'll be going back to school and checking on the students. Hopefully they're doing all their work. I left them with plenty of work to do, and they have substitutes. And so today, right now, it's almost 8 o'clock. Yikes, I should be there right now. The session starts at 9, so I'm not really late. I'll just be a little bit late to the caucus meeting. I had a hard time getting up this morning. So, yeah, we usually have a little bit of a discussion about what the bills are for the day and what our strategy is as a group. And I'm hoping that everybody's there today. We had a few people missing yesterday. You know, a lot of the people that work in the State House, they have jobs, they're juggling, and they also do the State House. So it's a lot. We don't get paid for this job. We get paid $100 a year to represent our town. We have 3 people, we have 3 people from my town that are representatives. Some of the larger towns have more people, and some of the smaller towns have 1 person for 3 towns. So when I get to the Concord, I have to park, and then I have to run to the State House. I haven't been this close to late so far. Technically, you know, there is no late. You get there when you can. You don't get a penalty. You just have to let them know if you are late. The school is where they see that not everyone has that standard for acceptable behavior. Yeah. Yeah. I always say the public schools are where there are no rules. It's the only place in the country. Well, we do get, we don't have to pay for parking, and we do get a Easy Pass because I go through the toll booth, and they do pay us reimbursement for mileage. So we do get the mileage paid for. So we get our gas. So you're right. It's a sacrifice, you know. We give up. I mean, I'm giving up days at work so that I can do this. So it's costing me money, actually. But it's also an honor to be able to do it. It's, you know, you have to be voted in by your town, so that's pretty hard to do. You know, we actually had to raise money to buy signs and, you know, do advertisements. We got help for that from different people that will donate money to our campaign. So, you know, we do get help that way, but in the end, it costs more than what you get. But the whole idea is that, hey, we just voted to get bad stuff out of schools. Like, I got to be a part of that. One man, he had a bill for a certain flag for his son who died in Iraq, you know, for the fallen soldiers. So we passed a bill yesterday that said that we could fly that flag for the ones that won't be forgotten in the wars overseas. So things like that, you know, that's what we do it for, to make a difference. in our state. The idea is, yeah, we don't really want more laws and more rules. We don't really want that, but we do want things that we can agree on that can help make our state a better place. So I'm getting on to my exit is coming up, so I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much for coming, and I will see you next time.